Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics. Welcome back to the Tea and Cookies for Two series. Our customers are loving that. I'm not sure if it's the project or the cookies or the friendship they're loving, or maybe a combination of all these things. This is our free series we kicked off a few months ago where we get to make two small placemats with a really cool self-binding technique where each month the patchwork block is changing. We have just a little bit of applique, a nice field there for our cookies, whether they're shortbread, my grandma's sour cream sugar cookies, or maybe your favorite cookie recipe. The whole point is the community getting together, maybe making these together and having fun, and maybe learning some new skills each month where we unpack that patchwork block. Kits are the way to go, we know that. When you pick up the kit, you'll get the pattern, all of the fabrics you need to make two placemats. The only thing you might want to add on to that is the thread set, just a 4-piece thread set this time, and then be sure to pick up some fusible fleece or batting. That's what's inside here. If this is a brand new series, check out where we kicked that off way back. I think it was our February project where I take you through the whole process of even how to do the self-binding technique, which is so cool. We get to skip making traditional binding. A lot of people don't like doing it, and this is a nice break from doing that. So this is a log cabin block. Theme is strawberries. Of course, in June, we all love those June berries, the sweetest first berries of the season. They're growing in my garden right now. And I'm looking forward to picking them next month and throughout the summer. So with any log cabin, we always start off with our center block, and really let's just look how we kind of just build the blocks all the way around the center. What I've learned about log cabin quilt blocks is a couple of things. This is all about very precise cutting and sewing and pressing. Those three things together are how you get a near perfect, if not perfect, I don't know if any block's perfect, log cabin block. So that's really the tip and technique I would say is get some sizing. Low cost, inexpensive sizing, spray your fabrics good and wet and dry them good and flat with a real sharp blade in your rotary cutter. If it's been a while, you need a replacement blade, just pick up one. We have 1-pack, 2-pack, 5-pack, pick your favorite. Most important thing though is get clean cuts because the cuts really matter. These are cut to 1.5 inch. Anytime that I can use the exact frame of my ruler to get my cut, I do it. These are the 1.5 inch wide Creative Grid rulers. We have a 6.5 and a 12.5. That is exactly what we actually did. We cut our longer strip out of the fabric, and then we were coming back and then measuring the logs with this so that we could get some precise cuts. The pattern, of course, is going to be telling you exactly what size to cut all of these fabrics to. There is one fabric in there, however, that's a gingham in here, and I wanted to cut that with you so that you can see how to what's called fussy cut to make sure that your gingham or your plaid, however you see that as a gingham or plaid, is really cut precisely so that that diagonal, that gingham isn't fading off into a diagonal. We've probably all seen those quilts where, and mine were like that in the early days before I realized I don't have to put up with a sideways gingham. I can follow the printing of that and make my cut be based on that. Let me tell you what I mean by this. Let me just grip the fabric. The pattern is going to let us know what size that, I'm just going to call that a gingham. It's a nice big gingham. It's going to give us our measurements of what size we should cut that to. And I can see we're going to be cutting 2 logs. That makes sense. One here and one here. The first one is cut 1.5 by 3. That's the longer one. And then the other one is cut 1.5 by 2. The reason we give you that first measurement here is I'm going to cut a longer strip first and then subcut that into a 3 and then subcut that into a 2 inch. So here's what I'm talking about. If I just laid my ruler along here, you can see how this is starting to diverge, right? Let's say that you got a piece of fabric in your kit that looked like this. Now I hope that you won't, but let's say you did. You most certainly are not going to come up here and start cutting your strips because your gingham is going to be fading away. That's nothing you need to do. The first thing that you would do is you're going to establish a line that is traveling right along the print of the fabric. The mat means nothing to me right now. It actually won't mean anything to me throughout this cut. I'm looking at my fabric right now, and I'm establishing a straight line. Now that I have that, now the ruler is king. This said to cut 1.5 inch strips, and this is a 1.5 inch wide ruler. I'm simply laying this down and cutting. Now, as I subcut this into my 2 and 3 inch logs, I would simply turn this to the side, and I always like to start with a clean cut, right? You never know if the edge of your fabric or the end of your strips is straight. So go ahead and get that straight. The first cut was 3 inches. Now I can continue using the 1.5 by 12.5 because that's all you are going to need for that whole project to do the patchwork block. I'm just going to keep using that. If you had the smaller ruler, this is a great time to downsize now because the cut's only 3 inches. Whether you're using this one, the smaller ruler, or the bigger one, doesn't matter. You're going to lay this on the 3 and make a cut. Here on the larger ruler, same story. Laying this on the 3 here, positioning that. Now you absolutely can see without a doubt, I'm just going to turn it sideways. You're not even looking at the lines on the mat. I don't even want you to see that. The only thing I care about is this ruler right now. That is what's controlling what's happening. You can see we're lined up with the strip. The 3 is here, confirming you're in the right place. Make a cut. The next one was 2 inch. If we want to start clean again, we can, or you simply keep marching down the line here, and we said that cut was 2 inches. That's how you fussy cut, but that's why these rulers are awesome. Any project that you have 1.5 inch log cabin strips or strips at all, grab those rulers. Your blocks are going to be so much more precise because you're literally cutting around the frame of that ruler. Once all of your shapes are cut out, I have my little stack here. Now this is all about precise piecing. We have our center square, placing this right side together, and this is where I have my diagonal seam tape, which is on my machine, and I use my seam guide to hold me true. This is where the truth about the 1/4 inch seam allowance is going to come into play. I'm warming my iron up. We're going to head over to the machine, and you'll see what I have set up here. This is called the Cluck Cluck Sew diagonal seam tape, especially when I have bigger pieces of fabric and I want to start lining them up so that they're going into the feed dogs nice and straight, and this is my seam guide. That is running right along the right side of this, helping me stay true to my 1/4 inch, which is especially important with this block. So let's come in with our 1/4 inch seam allowance. Pressing on log cabin blocks, you've seen maybe some other videos we've done where the pressing is changing. Easy peasy, just always press away from the center the whole time, that whole time. We give a press. So here we are. Let's just bring out this right here so you can see where we're going. Move this out of the way so you get a good visual on how fun it is to do log cabin. It's really very repetitive but very satisfying because it's such a classic look. Now here comes the next shape. Now I am going to sew from this side. Why? I can keep track of this seam, whereas here, if I were to sew on this side, I have to worry about that seam rolling back. See that? So I'm going to sew on this side. Pressing away, we said that. Okay, so I always like to set this back and say, okay, what's next? Here, right? Right side together. Once again, I'm going to be sewing from the back side. So let's just take this back up here, here. That's where we are, right there. This is on this side. We're going to go sew. Let's just do this one more time together. You're getting the gist of this. Let's just do a whole round together. Press to the outside. And now here. Once again, pressing, placing, deciding which side are we going to sew from, 1/4 inch. So let me just bring that out here so we can kind of keep moving on. It is very easy to turn this the wrong direction. You have a square. Right now, this is the correct orientation, this is where the next log goes. Let's say that I gave that a 1/4 turn. Guess what? That piece fits. Have I sewn log cabin blocks together wrong? You already know the answer to that question. Of course I have, because I didn't keep laying out kind of true north. I made a little bit of a corner turn. I don't know how. On the way back from the sewing machine, I made a 1/4 turn. Maybe I'm watching TV, kind of partially, whatever. But it's very easy to get this wrong if you're not continuing to say, that's my north, that's my north. And keep in mind, you're always going to be flowing clockwise, because that's another thing you could start doing. Sewing this here and sewing the next one, and it would fit. The next one will fit here or here. So it's a very easy block to do, but it's easy to get disoriented if you don't kind of reestablish true north. All right, you get the gist of it. You've heard me beat that drum. That now we'll place this into position. We sew our 1/4 inch. We place this on the right. Same story. Right? Always pressing away from the center. Right? And this is what we're going to have. Let's place that on a true north. And you know what's next. There's our pieces. Travel around clockwise. And we're going to press to the outside the whole time. Okay? And we have our block done. Boom, just like that, just magic. Boom. Once you have your block done, this is just like all the months we've done before. You will get your background fabric here, and in your kit you'll have 2 scallops, prefused laser cut, our favorite. You do not have to trace and cut that out. Simply remove the paper off of the fabric, have the fusible on the back of that. You'll position that right along here. You can see that. Iron it down, and you could use the white thread that's inside your thread set to stitch that down. And we simply place that right side together and sew, and then we press toward the middle, right? That's where this wants to naturally press. And now you're off to that self-binding technique that you get to skip making traditional binding. It's super cool. Again, if that's brand new to you, check out those videos. I go into detail showing you how to complete that. The point turner is very important in that step. That's what gets these corners nice and 90 degrees. So if you're just now seeing this and you're going to pick up the kit and you don't have a point turner, be sure to pick that up. That's going to be very key to you, as well as the thread set, any notions you might need, and maybe even some of the kits from the previous month. I hope you're having fun. I want to see more cookie recipes show up in the comments section. We love our cookies around our house and love trying out new recipes. We hope you're having fun with this series. There's a lot more coming your way as we continue this series, as well as our foundation paper piecing series too. Maybe you haven't seen that yet, and so much more. Subscribe, let your friends know this is the place to be. I look forward to seeing you soon next month as we continue our series.